Someone from my team decided to call me a serial entrepreneur, and I said, you know what, let's just go with it. And in today's video, I'm going to give you my top 5 lessons from being a serial entrepreneur. Let's go into the video. So the first question you probably ask yourself is,
wait a minute, who are you?
At the age of 22, I started doing some sales. Then I opened my own real estate brokerage agency, which kind of failed. And then I moved into dropshipping and doing e-commerce online. I had 2 stores. The first one failed. The second one is scaled pretty quickly to about $1 million in monthly revenue. Sold that business, and then I moved to start doing pretty much what I'm doing right now, which is building software for e-commerce stores, SaaS products to different businesses online. And the company currently generates around $230,000 every month. So I think most people would call it successful. Without wasting any of your time, let's just go to the first lesson. And the first lesson is, you need to truly believe that you cannot fail. Failure is not an option. You can either die or succeed. And then you can only fail if you die, and even if you die, who cares? You're dead. 2 other points that are important related to this lesson is that A, it's all about framing your so-called failures and try to experience them in a positive way, because eventually you can always learn from your failures to get better and be better for the next time. So if you treat learning as a success, then your failures are actually some sort of a success. And that's the way to look at it. Whenever you fail, learn, move forward, just make sure to take the lessons from your failure. And then the second thing is, you really need to eliminate the thought about quitting from your mind, because if you will have these thoughts in your mind, it probably will happen, because it's going to be so much harder than you probably expect and what you assume before you get into it. It's going to be hard, so just make sure that you don't even think about quitting. You don't need a backup plan, obviously within the limits of reality. So, you know, if shit hits the fence really hard, you do need to have something to fall back on, but it shouldn't be something you even consider until things get really, really bad. All right? The second lesson, and this one is very similar to the first one, but it's different in a few nuances, is don't try to avoid failure. Failure is assumed, success isn't. You're probably going to fail. So we've been taught throughout our whole lives that failure is the devil, and we need to do everything within our power to avoid failure. Failure is horrible. Failure is going to finish you up, and it's a shame to fail. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, because if you really look at it, it takes between 5 to 10 times to try something and actually succeed. So you cannot expect to do it on the first time. Even very talented people will probably have success within 5 tries of achieving something. So I don't know why we have this demon in our mind that we have to be successful in the first time. You will probably fail. Again, you just need to learn from it. Accept it, move on, get on with it. It's not going to be easy. This is how things work. I think the best example I can give you about failure that is assumed, you can even look at SpaceX with Elon Musk. And I don't think anybody watching this thinks that Elon Musk is a failed entrepreneur. We all know he's very successful. After he exited PayPal and launched SpaceX, he budgeted SpaceX for a successful launch within 3 tries, which means he also assumed failure for the first 2 times. He actually failed the 3rd time and put up his own money on the table, the money he had from PayPal, for a 4th launch, and that first time they've been successful. So you can see from this point that lesson 1 and lesson 2 are very similar, and they connect to each other. You can see from what Elon Musk did here that A, he assumed failure, he planned for it, and then on the 2nd time when he actually failed compared to what he planned, he still wasn't willing to quit. He put up his own money and didn't think about actually quitting, as long as he had the power to continue going. So just have this in mind. Moving on to lesson number 3, true learning only happens when you switch from a complete failure to something that some sort of works, because then you start understanding the reason as for why it worked. When it's completely failing, you do learn about what's not working, but you still don't know what is working, which again is not assumed compared to lesson 2. So try as many things as you can and be very creative and have multiple different tactics of achieving the same goal, and then after trying everything, understand what's working and what's not. And I'll give you a few examples. Now let's say you want to drive traffic to your newly website or new business. What most people would do probably is just run a Facebook ad. Now that's okay, but it might not work for you, and it doesn't even mean it doesn't going to work because Facebook ads doesn't work. It just means that you still don't know how to run Facebook ads. So what I would suggest doing is try 10 different creatives for the same ad, 10 different variations. And if you take these 10 different variations and also create 10 different audiences on Facebook, that's already like 100 options to try. Some of it probably going to work better than others. You can take it to the next level and try 10 different budgets or 10 different ad copies or 10 different landing pages, and every time you try 10 more, you multiply the options by 10, so you can get to tens of thousands of options, and then you're going to figure out what's really working on your audience and what's really going to get these users to your website and convert them into paying customers. Now that's just one example. Most people won't do it. They'll just do 1 or 2 ads, it's not going to work, and they're going to assume this failure. They're going to be ashamed of the failure instead of just understanding that this is assumed, and you just need to test more things until you understand what's going on. And the thing is, once something will work, you'll understand why. You'll start having these connections in your mind. You will find this variant that just works, it just converts, and then you'll start building on top of it and making it better and better over time. Now this is just about Facebook, but if you really want to test things out and really mix it up, you can try the same split test strategy with SEO, with influencer marketing. You can try different ad platforms, Google, TikTok, LinkedIn. There's plenty of opportunities to do that. And the fact that most businesses just do Facebook ads doesn't mean that this is the best strategy for everybody. So you need to split test and understand what's working for your business. Hope you understand. And really, once something works, that's when you really start learning, and that's when you start capitalizing on what you've done until now and making it better for the next times. Moving on to lesson number 4, which again connects to lesson number 3, is don't do what everyone else is doing. You need to be unique. You can't just expect to build a business that is exactly like another business and expect to win, because you're always going to be behind your competitors. You're always going to try to copy them instead of being creative and try to really come up with something that is unique and it's going to be hard to copy and that customers will love. It's very important. Be creative in your marketing, be creative in your product, be creative in the way you speak, be creative in your ideas, and be creative in everything around you. It's okay to implement some of the things that other people are doing, but even if you do so, try to do it after you really learn it and try to understand how to make it better. You cannot do the same and be better. It's never going to work. You need to look at something, understand how to make it better, and launch it. Basically, what I'm saying is just understand that your creativity and vision, this is your true power as an entrepreneur. It's not about copying someone else. It's never the solution. That's why also, by the way, as an entrepreneur, you shouldn't be too scared about other people copying what you're doing. You can see we're sharing pretty much everything we're doing. It's all about execution and it's all about creativity, and you need to have these both in order to be a successful entrepreneur. And moving on to the 5th and final lesson, which is just focus on one thing at a time and keep things simple as you can. The human nature is probably to make things way more complex than they are and try to figure all the things simultaneously, and it never works. To be honest, business is very complex and it gets more complex over time, but you want to start by making it as simple as possible, and every time you get to a specific pain point, you just need to solve it. Right now we are running a pretty complex operation with tens of people doing a whole lot of different things, and we had no option to do that at the beginning. You need to work with the resources that you have. At the beginning, you just hassle your own, do anything in your power, and once your resources grow, you can bring in more people to help you or more software to help you find different solutions, but you really want to focus on one thing at a time. At the beginning, it's building your product or your service, whatever you're doing, and then after that is bringing customers in. Once you have customers in, it's about charging them and make sure that you generate the revenue. After you do have the revenue, now it's time to really scale up and making things a little bit more complex, because you're going to need to bring in people for support, you're going to need to bring in people for marketing, you're going to need to bring in people to do some legal stuff. Keep it as simple as possible and just one step at a time. Try to understand what's the next bottleneck of the business and just solve it. Don't make it complex. You're just going to overkill yourself, and if you try to manage all of the things at the same time from the get-go, you're just not going to be able to move. One of your powers as an entrepreneur when you're just starting out, if you have a startup, is the fact that things can happen fast, that you're not depending on anything other than your choices and your work. And the bigger you are, usually things starts to move slower. Over time, there are just more connections between different departments of the business, and every time something moves, all the other departments have their own thing to do, and it's always delays from this side or bringing back delays to that side, and things starting to move slow. When you're just starting out, you want to keep it simple, you want to move fast, and you want to only focus on the one thing that's currently blocking you from moving forward. I consider myself to be not super sophisticated, kind of dumb to be honest, and I'm trying to make things simple. When it gets complex, I'm kind of losing my mind, so I'm trying to keep it simple, and that's what I'm doing even now when I'm managing everything. I'm trying to keep things simple for me, which means, by the way, that you have to trust your employees or the people that are working for you. You need to trust people in general. You need to build things every every time in a way that is comfortable enough for you to keep growing on top of it. If you want to learn more about it and listen to my story, you can check out this video talking more in detail about exactly what we've done and how we got to what we're doing today. So thank you so much. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.